Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Ubisoft has decided to announce the Assassin's Creed Shadow game not very long ago, and obviously it's coming out here very shortly. It's one of them situations where, boys and girls, this is the very first time that Ubisoft has ever set an Assassin's Creed game actually based in Japan before, and obviously this is a great example. This is a great idea with all the lore you've got behind in the history of Japan, with all of the ninjas and the samurais and everything else. It's a great way to do it. You'd think this would be an easy home run, would be an easy problem to solve, and boys and girls, it has not been that way in any way, shape, or form, because Japan is not happy with the Assassin's Creed Shadows game in any way, shape, or form because of the way it depicts Japanese culture, the way it depicts Japanese heritage, the way it depicts Japanese history, and just a lot of the things that they have said out there, not only in the press tours, but what we've seen from the trailers, the clips, and what they've told us about the game in general. There's already been a lot of pushback. There have been certain things that have already been changed already in the game, and needless to say, this is now escalated to the potential of an international diplomatic incident, ladies and gentlemen, because the exact reasons why everybody in Japan is so upset about this game and the liberties, to say the least, that it takes with Japanese history and culture out there. And we have the exact example of why this is out there, because now there's already people out there in literal diplomatic situations already believing the lies that this game has put forth. And that's exactly why they're not happy about it. And that's exactly what we've got to come here and give you an update on what's going on with the Assassin's Creed Shadows situation right now and what is going down with this, how this is turning into a diplomatic incident, and it is absolutely insane and crazy. And of course, shout out to our dear sweet Grums. If you haven't already gone over there and follow him, subscribe to all of his stuff and all that kind of stuff, because he is out there keeping track of this. He is keeping paying attention to this. This is his full-time job, and he is bringing us all of this information served up to us in a very digestible format, so we know exactly what's going on. So shout out to Grums for all of that kind of stuff. So we're going to check out all the information he's brought to us today, go through these statements and these questions that are actually getting put forward by the Japanese government and what their current status on it is right now. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe and or follow if you have not already, because we just crossed 800 on both Rumble and YouTube, and I could not do that without every single one of you. And leave us a comment down below and let us know what you think about this entire situation and how you feel about its depiction of Japanese heritage in this Assassin's Creed game. So, from our dear sweet Grums, the Assassin's Creed Shadows issues with Yasuke and the discredited historian Thomas Lockley have exploded into a potential diplomatic incident. Letters are being sent with questions to Japan's Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry. So let's look at what we've got right here. So we've got this video over here from people in Japan asking questions. I'm talking about right here, become quite large, and there's a possibility they could escalate into a diplomatic issue. Now, what could escalate into a diplomatic issue? So here are some of the questions that are being asked to the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs out there. It's big one lumped group out there over in Japan. So this is one of the situations right here. They are asking these questions of everybody. So question one has been pointed out that Mr. Thomas Lockley, who is an associate professor of foreign languages and faculty of law at Nihon University, wrote a book about Yasuke's story, which he created from his own imagination, and spread their contents of the book as historical fact all over the world, and that this is a movement to make a fabricated history of the truth of the world without many Japanese people even knowing about it. Please tell us the government's opinion on this point and its future policy. Now, that's what the thing about it is right? This Thomas Lockley guy is somebody who took an actual historical character and made up an entire story surrounding him. Was Yasuke actually a real person? Yes, absolutely. Was he a black man in Japan? Absolutely he was. But he was never a warrior. He was never a samurai. He never became any kind of hero. He was literally nothing more than just kind of like basically a court guy that was hanging out there because the person at the time thought it was so fascinating. It was so unusual. He'd never seen a black person before, so he was like, hey, come hang out in my court. I think you're fascinating. I think you're interesting, so I'm going to pay you to hang around in my court. Literally, the only time the guy ever actually took up any kind of arms in battle, he literally lost his life the first time he did it. So it was one of them situations where this guy is not a hero. He was never a samurai, none of that kind of stuff. This is a completely and totally made-up story, and everybody that tries to disagree with you and tell you they quote it, they will only quote Thomas Lockley and his original fabricated sources. That's what's been spread time and time again. So, of course, the Japanese are a little upset about this, considering this is supposed to be the hero that is being recognized in this game, which so many people out there will absolutely take as historical fact, because the majority of the time, the Assassin's Creed games have been really good about being at least as close to accurate as they can, and at least depicting characters who as they actually were in the games. Obviously, that's not what they're doing here. So question 2. Assassin's Creed Shadows, a new game being developed by French game company Ubisoft, is set in the Sengoku period of Japan, and Yasuke appears as the main character. This game company has been taken over by people of political correctness movement, and from the pre-release interview footage, the disrespect for Japan is blatant. The content of the game has been partially released, which is already distorted and grossly disrespectful of Japanese culture, history, and the Japanese people. For example, in an interview, a person in charge of the grotesque decapitation scene said death was a common occurrence in Japan at the time and that most people died by having their heads neatly cut off. I would like to know the government's views on this matter and its future policy. Even in their own marketing, boys and girls, for the Assassin's Creed game out there, they are pushing this false narrative about the true history of Japan, and the Japanese people are not happy about it in any way, shape, or form, and they are making their voices heard, which is exactly how they should do. I'd imagine if this was your country, especially a country that is so rich in its heritage and so very proud of its heritage like Japan is, you would have a serious issue with this as well. Think about how many times we've seen history and cultures from all of these different countries out there absolutely get disrespected and destroyed by so many people out there who only want to use it to push their agenda and push their rewriting and lies about the actual real truth of the history. But like I said earlier at the beginning, this has turned into a potentially diplomatic dispute and a real issue right here because it goes on. Question 3. If the game were made by a private company, there would be no need to be so concerned. But it has been announced that it is based on Japanese historical facts, which we know is an absolute lie, boys and girls. Now, if they said loosely based, or if it was a reinterpretation or an adaptation, maybe. But they are saying this game is based on historical facts, and we have proven that time and time again that that is not true in any way, shape, or form. And if this goes viral, which it already has, the trailers and everything else has absolutely gone viral, but if the game ends up being a success, people all over the world will start to believe it, which I think is extremely malicious. In fact, the following message has been released. It's already having an effect. Now, of course, you could blame it on the book that all of this was based on, all the lying book that all of this was based on. But at the end of the day, this is something that is now getting pushed out into the cultural zeitgeist to the average person out there because of Ubisoft, because of Assassin's Creed, and because of their lies. The Brazilian embassy in Japan, ladies and gentlemen, in Japan, publicly announced on Facebook that Yasuke was Japan's first black samurai, and that Yasuke was brought to Japan in 1579 and became a hero. This is the Brazilian government putting out a statement on their social media platforms stating this as a historical fact. We already have evidence. We already have evidence of this game affecting people's views on Japan's history and on their culture. Japanese government, what are you doing about this? This is your culture. This is your history. This is your heritage that they are destroying and devastating. And your people, your voters, the people that will elect you to your positions of power are calling you out for it. The real question is, what are you going to do about it? Well, as of right now, we know what they have planned for it. Not a whole lot. While the government has not taken action yet, they are waiting for the final release of the game to decide. And honestly, from a legal perspective and from kind of like a just not get yourself in trouble perspective, that actually makes sense because as a lot of us have seen time and time again in the video game industry, what we see in the trailer and what we actually see in the final released version is not always the same thing. But at the exact same time, don't you think maybe you should at least put out some kind of statement going, this from what we've seen so far, this doesn't look so good? I don't know, might just be a thought, and it might maybe actually calm some of your voters and convince them that you're actually going to do something about this. Because as of right now, it's not looking so good, which is why these questions are being asked. And there is mounting pressure into Japan to address the issue with Ubisoft portraying false information to Japanese children. And obviously the video link is in the reply. Let's check out, let's see how many views this guy's got so far. Right over here, we've got the full video. It's 13 minutes and 24 seconds long. Already got over 7,000 views. This video was just put up there 6 hours ago, ladies and gentlemen, and this thing is already going out there. It is going to end up being seen by everybody. I hope that the Japanese government is willing to understand this, understand the people's complaints, understand everybody else's issues out there, because I am just one of those people out there that I'm willing to defend anybody out there's fandom, anybody out there's culture. It's the reason why we made the videos about all the stuff in Egypt with Cleopatra and what Netflix was trying to do. It's the same reason why we're making this. I'm also an Assassin's Creed fan. I loved the hell out of all of these games. I think Black Flag was probably one of the last ones I played for a very long time, but they were a great and incredible game, very immersive and very wonderful. And it's sad to see a company like Ubisoft, who has given us so much good stuff in the past, get taken over by this kind of ideology and be forced to put this kind of stuff into their games. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely wrong. And at the end of the day, the Japanese people are not taking it down, not taking it lightly, and they are not taking it lying down. And I am here for that for them. So by all means, keep calling them out, because this rewriting of history, this destruction of Japanese culture is absolute nonsense. It's absolutely BS, and it does deserve to be called out. Ubisoft, you deserve to be shamed, because the Japanese culture, the Japanese people, and most of all their history, the true and real factual history of things that happened, deserve to be respected. And we will not put up with your rewriting or erasure of true history. It doesn't matter if it's Japan, it doesn't matter if it's Egypt or anywhere else. You will get called out for this. You will be made shamed for this, and you will hear us out. And I cannot wait to see your game completely and totally fail and cost you hundreds of millions of dollars, because Ubisoft, you allowed this to happen, and it's exactly what you deserve.